We have all heard the saying, the only thing guaranteed is to die and to pay taxes. The other one I would like to add is that at some point we will all get to where we want to retire. Many people put a lot of thought into the thought of retirement, but they don't really put much thought into actually creating a retirement plan. But with so many rules out there, that comes at a true cost. In today's episode, I want to cover one of those costs that could hit you and you may not even know it exists. The good part is there is something you can do about it. Today, I want to put your mind at ease as we cover RMDs and make sure that they don't derail your retirement plan. Let's jump in.
Welcome to the Financial Mirror. Where future success is reflected in our knowledge of fixing the one thing we can control, ourselves.
Thanks for joining me today on the Financial Mirror as we continue to improve the one thing you can control, yourself. If this is the first time you're joining in, thank you for joining in, and don't forget to hit subscribe on YouTube, to hit like on Facebook, to subscribe to the channel, all those things so that you know when the next episode is coming out. If you are listening to this on a podcast platform of your choice, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe, as that helps the algorithms out there to get this out to more and more listeners so that we can, as a community, grow in our financial success. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you have the option to leave a written comment as well. So get those comments written out. Just spread this information to more and more listeners. So I want to start off with this today because in life, we do things that we potentially could fail at, right? Like there's things that we want to do and then we go do it and we fail. Well, mine was snowboarding. So this weekend we went snowboarding, and let me tell you that I had fun. I did have a few falls out there, right? You know, your backside does start to hurt a little bit, but I did start to get the hang of it, and I would say that it was something that I want to go back and do again. I am no Shaun White, right? Like I was able to move up from the baby hills to an actual hill, but not the actual hill, right? So let me say that it was satisfying how it turned out. So if you are a great snowboarder, I commend you. It definitely does take a little bit of time to get really good at. But in my one day of experience that I now have snowboarding, I can say that it is fun. I will go back and I will do it again and try to get better, right? But in life, we do have things that you have to stay persistent at, right? Because that is something that I will say was not my strong suit, and that I took off and just made a mastery of it instantly. So that's that. So you know that I fail at everything just like you do, right? Well, today we're not discussing snowboarding, obviously. Today we're discussing retirement accounts, and we're discussing a particular part of the retirement account. This actually, when we're thinking about it, I've done episodes in the past about retirement accounts, and normally we're talking about the types of retirement accounts. We're talking about things that you can do to structure your retirement accounts differently. Now, this does play a role in the types of retirement accounts that you have. This does play a role in the types, you know, like should you roll things over? Should you combine accounts? Like all of those things matter, but this is kind of a reason why some of those things matter. So you may have heard of it, you may not, but this is a part of retirement accounts that could absolutely sneak up on you if you don't know it exists. Now, for some, it may not affect that many, right? Like for some, like your accounts might be just fine. For others, this could lead you to digging more into your retirement account than you ever planned on. And that's where this becomes a problem, because now when you had this glorious plan of I'm going to draw this much out of my account, and now you're really getting into it and you realize, wow, I am having to draw more than that. This is eating into my actual retirement savings. My retirement accounts may not get me through retirement anymore. So that's kind of the part that I want to discuss today. Normally, this is the part that it does take some planning. It does take some structuring of your accounts to understand where you're going to withdraw from. But today I want to discuss what these are. These have a name. They're called RMDs. What types of accounts they apply to, and should you do anything about it? And if you should, what are those things? What are those options that you have? So that's what I want to cover today. So let's jump in and let's get this started. So starting off, we want to talk about what are RMDs. Are required. I was trying to combine required and minimum. But required minimum distributions. What are they, right? I pulled this directly from the IRS website because, when it comes to taxes, I am not your tax advisor. I am not someone that's going to do your taxes for you. So, knowing that that's not my like taxes and doing taxes is not my strong suit, right? That's not what I specialize in by any means. There's a lot of tax law and tax code out there that you have to abide by. So that is something to work with a tax professional on. So when I pull these things, I like to go straight off of what the IRS says because it's not going to mislead you. And that's what I never want to do, is mislead you. So simply put, these are a requirement by the IRS that's going to make you start taking money out of your retirement account. Now, you may think that that's not a big deal, right? Because you're retired and you're wanting to take money out of your account. So why is that a big deal? Well, that's the part we're going to get to. But simply put, I want you to think about this. I want you to keep this thought in your head. What if your required minimum distribution is more than what you ever planned on taking out for retirement? To give it a number value, what if you said, I'm going to take out $30,000 a year to cover all of my annual expenses, but your required minimum distribution makes you take out 50, right? So now you're eating $20,000 out of your retirement accounts. You're having to take that out and you really don't need it. So keep that in mind. I'm not going to dive into detail just yet. We will cover that, but keep that in mind as we're going through this. So simply put, a required minimum distribution is money that the IRS is going to make you take out of your account, out of your retirement account. So who do they apply to? Well, currently, so the age was 72 with the Secure Act 2.0. Did an episode on it. My episodes run together, but I think it was last week with the 529 plan. But with the Secure Act 2.0, we talked about the 529 plan will now have the ability to be rolled into a Roth IRA. Go listen to that if that sounds new to you. But with that same Secure Act 2.0, there was a required minimum distribution age change, and it jumped from 72 to 73 for this year, right? So starting in January, that was increased to age 73 now. So, that's a whole other ball game. But there's a further goal that the required minimum distribution age in 2033, so 10 years from now, a decade from now, that the RMD will increase again to 75, right? So the current setup is 73, but it could change, right? Like the current plan is for RMD age to be 75 in 2033, but that could change. We all know that when governments change, when political parties come in and shift, they have different, things they want to work on. And just know that nothing that I say right now, it could change in 2 years. It could change next year. But right now, this is what it is. But the whole concept is not about the age. This whole episode is applicable regardless what the age is, because what I want you to do is, regardless of the age, you need a plan for it. Okay. So why do they exist? Like why would the IRS force you to take money out of your account? And I say force, right? Because you will be penalized if you do not take this money out. So why would the IRS force you to take money out of your account? Well, let's think about that. The biggest thing here is that the government wants to get paid. Like they want to be paid. And you're probably thinking, well, how are they going to get paid? This is my money. Like I don't understand. Well, here's the thing. Most of our accounts, when we have contributed, especially people that are getting to retirement age now, there's a chance that their 401k was traditional, because Roth is, we've all heard of it, but it's not a especially with 401ks, that is not something that's been around or been available very, very, until recently. So knowing that a lot of our 401ks are traditional, this just means that the IRS has never taxed that money, right? Because you put that money in there with pre-tax dollars, right? So all the money that's sitting in those traditional accounts, the government has never got to put their fingers on. It's never been touched by the government, right? So what they want to do is make sure that you pull that money out, and they want you to, they set a limit on how much they want you to pull out so that they can anticipate getting, as much tax on that money as possible. They want you to pull that money out, and then they want to tax it. They want you to pay the taxes on it. And they want to get their fingers on it, right? That's kind of the whole reason. That's the whole reason that this exists, is because you have money that they've never got to put their fingers on, and then they want to put their fingers on it, and you're not taking it out, so they're just going to force you to take it out, right? Like that's kind of how this whole entire thing came to be. So the government doesn't want you to just save. They want you to eventually start to take so that you pay taxes. That's kind of the end state here. Okay. That's kind of the reason. So the question might come, well, okay, so traditional, you said traditional, or what types of accounts does this really apply to, right? What types of accounts does it apply to? Well, that's a great question. The easiest way, and currently the easiest way, is to think about this as traditional accounts, right? Any retirement account that you have that is traditional will be forced to have a required minimum distribution. Any account. It doesn't matter if it's 401k, a 403b, your IRA, all of those things. It will come with a required minimum distribution age. Okay. And you probably knew this because when you think about Roth, you funded that with post-tax money. So the government technically has put their fingers on that money. So they're less likely to want to touch it again. Oh, well, actually, let's backtrack. They do want to touch it again, but there's not much reason. You can't give them much reason for why to touch it again because they've already put their fingers on it. So that's kind of the reason for that. The kicker is this, though. The kicker is, so I said traditional, but the kicker is that as it currently stands for Roth 401ks, because those are fairly new concepts. For that reason, the Roth 401k, as it currently stands, also has RMDs, right? It also has RMDs. So the Secure Act 2.0, once again, says that the 401k Roth will, beginning in 2024, also not require RMDs. Okay. It's not a big deal. And I'm going to hit that at the end of what you can do about it. So even if this change doesn't go into effect, it's really not a big deal. Right. And this is where I talk about retirement planning. Like we have to plan for this. Like don't let retirement just happen. Don't let retirement just sneak up on you. We have to plan for this. So it's not a big deal. Even if the Roth 401k does require RMDs, right? Let's say nothing changes. There's still something you can do about it to not have to do that. So we'll get to that in just a second. But as of right now, until that plan goes into effect in 2024, the Roth 401k technically does right now have required minimum distributions at the age of 73. So until we know everything's concrete, let's go with that because that's the rules. So what can you do about it? What can you do about it? That's the question. What you're probably asking. What can I do about it? Well, the biggest thing that you can do is convert your accounts, right? That's the biggest thing that you can do. We'll start with the Roth 401k because it's the easiest. If you have a Roth 401k and the required minimum distribution age stays in effect, right? And it doesn't change the way it said it was going to change. It's kind of easy for you just to convert that Roth 401k to a Roth IRA and you get around the RMD, right? Because you had a Roth 401k, you move that right into a Roth IRA, doesn't cost you anything, doesn't change unless there's some type of like funding fee for the IRA account, which, nowadays like fees on getting, buying into positions and all that is not as big of a deal. There's normally like different, just go somewhere else that are not charging a fee, right? Everyone kind of has access to the same market. So that's the easiest thing that you can do for your Roth IRA. Okay, that's the easiest thing you can do for your Roth IRA is for your Roth 401k is just to move that into a Roth IRA. Okay, so if the Roth 401k RMD does change, then you're good. I mean, if you want to keep it into the Roth 401k and just draw out of it, cool. There's no RMD required if that changes. But if it doesn't, that's okay. People are doing it now to where they're just moving this into Roth IRAs and they're moving on with life. Now, what about those pesky traditional accounts? That's the one that we really need to sit down and talk, right? There's math that needs to be done. We need to see, is it worth it? Depending on your age, because that's kind of where this comes down to is age. But you could consider converting all of your traditional money into Roth money. Okay. Remember, keep this in mind before you just jump out and say, all right, well, I'm about to go do that. I'm doing that this afternoon. Remember, the IRS, the government hasn't put their fingers on that traditional money. So when you put it into that Roth, you will pay taxes on it, right? You will pay taxes on that money. So thing here is that you don't have to do this all at once. This isn't like a one size fits all. Like I've got to knock out and convert every single bit of this money at one time. No, you could pick a value and say, I'm going to convert, $5,000 a year from traditional to Roth. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to convert it because then it's going to grow tax free. I'm going to have already paid taxes on it, all those things. And you could then just go for it, right? 5,000 this year, 5,000 the next year, 5,000 the next year. And that's currently the only way around RMDs for the foreseeable future. Now, is keeping money in a traditional bad? Is the RMD bad? Well, I would tell you not technically, right? Because the whole point of retirement is to draw money out, right? The whole point of retirement is to draw money out. The issue comes when you're being told you have to draw it out and you have to draw this much. So the biggest thing that I can tell you to do about it is to plan. I can tell you plan. Because if all of your money is sitting in a traditional account, all of it, like all of your retirement accounts are traditional, you hit that RMD age, you're drawing a particular amount out of every single account, whether you need it or not. And that's the problem that I see. That's the problem that I see without putting together a true retirement plan, is that you will start having to dig into every single account that you've got that's building, that's growing, that's going to last you through retirement. And you're having to dig into it much, much too often for much more than you ever planned. That's the problem I see. So when we look at planning, all I'm really asking is that you look at your account structure and make sure that you do have some Roth accounts out there. Make sure that you're not just throwing all of your money into traditional, because in the end, you will have to take out all of that money, right? You have to take it all out. So start trying to think about, how much can I start converting to a Roth? How much can I get into my Roth? Because the whole goal is to try your best to get some money into a Roth so you're not required to touch it. Because then what that creates is the ability to, when you start drawing out of retirement, you'll start drawing out of your traditional account or accounts, right? And then we'll move to the Roth, right, will move to the Roth, because that Roth money is going to sit there. It's going to grow tax-free, and it's going to continue to just be, right. If you pass that on to your loved ones, and you pass away, like, it's, the money is just structured for benefit, right? Like you don't have to touch it. You never have to touch it for your whole entire life. You never have to touch that money. It will go on to a beneficiary, right? That's where I challenge you. Just look at your account structure. Not saying to transfer all your money from traditional Roth to avoid required minimum distributions. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is make sure that you're not having to pull money out of every single account, because all of your accounts, your whole retirement plan structure is traditional. That's all that's all I'm asking. So take a look at it, see what you have, see what your accounts look like, see what your retirement plan looks like. Actually put together a retirement plan if you don't have one, of sort of how, start to think about how you're going to draw this money out, how much money you think you're going to need. Like really start to put that plan in place, because that's what's going to drive a lot of the change that may be needed for your retirement. So the biggest things is that you're intentional. You're intentional about what you're going to do. You're intentional about how you're going to do it. Okay. That's the takeaway here. So RMDs are something that will affect everyone. Like, it'll affect everyone, whether immediately affect them, like they have to take money out, or affect them in that they've now had to make changes to make sure that their retirement account structure is appropriate for what they want. So the biggest part that I've seen is that a lot of our accounts are traditional, right? Because we're sold this retirement plan on this idea that we're going to take out money pre-tax. We're going to bring, that's going to not really affect our take-home pay and all those things. Like they're great things, right? But many of us don't look at the other components. And I have to say, us as in me included, right? Because we have to consider setting up our accounts, our retirement accounts, in such a way that we don't get pounded with these type of, I don't want to say fees, but they're kind of fees whenever you look at it, and they're taking money from you that you didn't really want to touch, right? So it's still your money, but the goal for this is to come up with a plan to convert these accounts. Begin to not worry about RMDs, or at least only understand that, okay, well, I'm going to have XYZ dollars in this retirement account, and it's traditional, and I'll be required to take money out of it. But the good part is that that's my plan. That's my plan. Like, I know I'm going to take money out of that. So if you are nearing a retirement age, conversion may not be the best route. It may just be sitting down and figuring out how you're going to take money out to ensure that you're good to go through retirement. But talk to a financial advisor. You can always reach out to me as a financial coach, and I am willing to sit down and figure out sort of how this should look for you. One last thing on RMDs before I wrap this up is that the required minimum distribution is something that, it's a good thing in a way, right? Like, because you're going to take money out. And when it's structured right, you're going to take it out in a certain order, right? I don't really like the idea of it. I don't like, that you're required to take money out, because even if it passed on to a loved one, like, they're going to take the money out and it's still going to be taxed. So I don't agree with it, right? Like, I don't agree with anyone telling you have to take money out of any account, but that's the law that exists. But here's the thing I want you to think about. When you have to take this money out, remember why you're taking it out. You're taking it out because the IRS, the government, wants to put their fingers on your money. They want taxes on your money. So when you retire and you hit this RMD age, you have to be prepared to pay taxes on all of that money. So if all of your accounts are traditional and you planned on only taking out 30,000, and now you're having to take out like 60,000 or 70,000, you're going to have to pay taxes on all that. Yeah, you're required to pay taxes on all that. And I want you to keep that in mind. So when we start to look at restructuring, we start to look at all these, I want us to also remember, in retirement age, we don't want to have to think about a tax bill during retirement. We don't want to include a tax bill in our retirement plan, but we might have to. Let's just keep it small. The goal is let's just keep it small, okay? And that's the last thing that I want to make sure that I cover. Now, if you are ready to take control of your finances, you can always reach out to me and we can sit down and look at these accounts. But head over to thefinancialmirror.org, hit book now in the middle of the screen, and schedule your free consultation. I'm happy to walk through everything with you and see if a financial coach is right for you. And if it is, let's do it. We'll get started together. And if it's not, we'll tell each other to have a great, successful life, but maybe just a coach isn't right for you. Maybe that's not exactly what you need. But either way, it doesn't hurt to reach out and see if that's something that is an interest of you. Also, if you do want to give a little extra dose of support to the stream, head over to thefinancialmirror.org/shop and pick you up some awesome Financial Mirror gear. All that money goes right back into the stream to try to improve it in every way that I can. I just want to thank you for joining in. I want to thank you for your continued support, and I appreciate all the likes and comments that I get on the episodes. If you are listening on a podcast, the 5-star review and written comment does go a long ways. But till next week, continue improving the one thing that you can control, yourself. Peace.
Well, that wraps up today's Financial Mirror. Join us next week as we continue to work on ourselves, change our mentality, and to commit to achieving the success we always envisioned. Regardless of your platform, help us grow as a community. Please like, subscribe, and share with the people in your lives.